What was the exact moment you realized you weren't students anymore and that you were founders?
Do you want to start?
You got
I
it.
can
Does
start.
something come to mind?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We were really fortunate for having been part of a class that was around consumer packaged goods and being able to learn as we go. But I think for me, it was after graduation. I think we took like a couple days off from school / work, like literally a handful, and coming back to Richmond and starting to like really work on the business full time with no other distractions, and realizing like there was no textbook, no playbook, no it was really like learning from scratch.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the last time that like I had to do that
Mm-hmm.
in that moment.
Yeah.
Because especially in higher education, there's like a certain level of system and process in place, especially at our university. Like the professors are very tenured and they have their semesters down to a science as far as how frequent or how fast and what exactly you're learning week to week. And so I remember kind of open up my laptop and being like, okay, where do we start? But how do we turn like what was a class project into now like our lifestyle, or what is now going to be like dependent on our livelihood. And so and it didn't help that we weren't renting an apartment at the time. We were kind of just couch surfing, and so I was trying to be comfortable while also trying to put some like gas on the pedal, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
The moment that comes to mind for me actually came before we graduated, which is a little ironic because
Yeah.
we were still students and still had that safety blanket at the time.
Yeah.
But when we had decided that we wanted to consider moving forward with Absurd Snacks and continue going with it, there were actually 2 other students in the class who also had expressed interest. And one day we sat down with a mentor who was both involved with the university and had been a founder and was very involved with the startup community, and is really a pillar of Richmond startup scene. And she kind of gave us the reality of, kind of pulled back the curtain on what being a founder might be like and the things that we may not have considered being students. And like, here is the experience that you have been having as student founders and running around with 14 other students. And here's what it's going to potentially be like when you're post-grad and on your own. And I think that conversation inevitably helped those other 2 individuals kind of realize that this path might not be for them, at least at that moment. But it gave Grace and I the confidence that it was something that we really wanted to give a shot. So I think that was like the slap in the face that we needed to, face the reality that it wasn't going to be easy, but it was what we wanted.
Yeah. The safety net just like went away.
Yeah. And we still had a few weeks after that, to live out our last few weeks of college pre-graduation, but at least we knew maybe what we were getting ourselves into.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because you didn't shy away from that. Like, so it sounds like to me that kind of invigorated y'all instead of like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, okay, bring it on, essentially, you know?
It's a lot of the last minute travel and things come up on a weekend and you're just going to have to face it. And you're going to meet someone who you wouldn't have anticipated. And then you're going to have to go out of your way to build a relationship with them. And, sometimes after working a long week, it's not necessarily the first thing that you want to do, of like putting in extra hours or having to go travel somewhere last minute. But those honestly have been some of the experiences that have been most rewarding. So
Definitely.
That's great. And did you all have a conversation about that together when that happened, or you were already like in sync with like, yeah, we're doing it. We're still doing it.
I don't know. It feels so long ago.
Yeah. We were pretty in sync.
Yeah.
I remember
I feel that's why we were like, that we could make when we were kind of talking about going in on Absurd together after school, like we didn't really have like a sit down conversation about it because we'd been working so closely together throughout the entire school year already that it's like you either drive with the person or you don't, and you can't really like train that, right? Like it kind of just comes naturally or it doesn't. So I think we both were committed in the fact that we knew that we were jumping off the deep end a little bit. We were going to have to find our wings. And that was all the knowledge and conviction that we had at the time. And so
Yeah.
it was at least a good starting point.
Yeah.
We were also both very lucky to have, we're both very close with our families, and neither one of our families are in Richmond or even Virginia. But when we went back to them and told them about the opportunity, I think on both fronts, they were like, you guys
Great.
got to do this. Like, yeah, you absolutely have to give it a shot. So.
Yeah, despite knowing nothing about the CPG
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah. Easy for them to say.
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is that I don't hear anything about like fear or like, oh, I don't know, or hesitation. It's just like, yeah, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
The fear of the unknown.
We,
Okay.
we didn't have a lot to be fearful of at the time.
Yeah.
You know, like now the fears have kicked in.
Yeah. You're like, oh, wait, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And so that you kind of mentioned that just now with your family being supportive, like how did your like extended family and how did your friends and peers react to you going all in?
Oh gosh. I mean, immediate family, like my parents have always been pretty hands-off parents, in the best way possible, like giving us the a rope long enough to choke ourselves, but understanding when to pull back and kind of jump in. And so that's been like my experience growing up in my house, just having really supportive parents, but them definitely not being helicopter parents. And so when I think I just like brushed the idea of like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this full time after school. Granted, I had a job opportunity lined up throughout my entire senior year. And so for them, I think they thought I would fall back on that if needed, because I like deferred that role in order to, work on Absurd. And I think they were happy to have a little bit of a safety net. So there wasn't I think it was when we like started raising money and like really we signed a lease in Richmond and we were fully committed, that they're like, are you sure you want to do it? And at that point it was like, well, we've been working on it for, 18 months. There's no going back now. But extended family, it's so interesting. Like I don't remember ever being acknowledged for what we were doing, which not that we were looking for any credit, but it just became our personality and our lifestyle. And like, that's part of what is the best and worst thing about building the business is like people see us and they see Absurd Snacks, they see Absurd Snacks and they see us. And so I think that from day one, we've always made that a little bit of our identity in a way, just to really like dive into the business and make it our own.
Yeah, I feel very similarly to that. Feel very lucky to have a supportive family who has pushed us to just go reach for the stars. And I will say, like, I think I feel very differently about being in Richmond now than I did, and Grace can attest to this, than I did coming out of graduation.
Yeah.
I really always envisioned myself going back to New York after graduation, being close to my family. A lot of my friends from childhood and even from college are from New York and still live in and around the tri-state area. So making the jump to stay in Richmond was definitely like a difficult decision to make in that regard. And there were definitely times where I felt homesick and just didn't feel like I was getting the quality time with, a lot of my loved ones that I had anticipated getting. But also on the flip side, over time, Richmond became home. And I think we met people that have formed this community. And we're also lucky to just be very close friends as well as co-founders. And that allows us to, find spaces and times to do things that make Richmond feel more like home. So that's been awesome. I will say, like, there are times when I feel more distanced from people at home. And while I know and feel lucky that they're being very supportive from a distance, it's like I almost feel a level of guilt for not being able to put in the same level of commitment to some of those relationships than I may have if I was in New York. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but at the same time, like I know that they're supporting from a distance, so they wouldn't want me to be in New York if it's not what's right. And maybe someday we'll make it back there, but wouldn't have it any other way.
So is Richmond home to you now, or?
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
Can you have two homes?
Yeah. Definitely can. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So one thing, kind of touching on like missing home and being in like in a brand new place. Well, not really a brand new place, but a place that is outside of your home and your initial dreams. You mentioned when we chatted the other day about the uniqueness of growing up alongside a business. So I would love to learn a little bit like what that actually looks like from y'all.
A lot's happened over the last couple of
Yeah.
years.
Gosh.
Where to even start? I mean, yeah, after graduation, we were literally couch surfing. We were very lucky to have a bedroom at one of our professors' houses who, really was such a big supporter from day one. He was essentially the reason why Absurd Snacks is what it is. He created the class and gave us the path to do it. But we ended up moving into the city, and we were kind of out on our own, had to, try to make a community, and then being a part of Startup Virginia and going through some local startup programs gave us more like networking opportunities, but we quickly realized that their work and social life go kind of hand in hand here. And a lot of these other founders that we met are in the same boat. So they came to Richmond. A lot of them aren't from here and are transplants because they became part of this awesome community, and they made us feel welcome. They would invite us to stuff, and, we're just these two 21, 22-year-olds on the table, and they're like, what right do we have to be here?
I remember the first time we got invited to a happy hour, I was like, they want to hang out with us.
Yeah. And we're telling our parents, we're hanging out with these people that are their age, and but it was awesome. And being able to meet neighbors once we moved into the city, and being at the university, you're in a bit of a bubble. You're in the west end of the city, or more in the suburbs. Even the campus itself is kind of a bubble, like offset from the main roads. So as a student, you don't get the same exposure to Richmond as a city and the community of Richmond as you do when you're actually in the city. And so being able to live in the fan where there's much more happening, and, you can literally go outside and people actually just say hi to you on the road because they're just friendly, and you can go to a local coffee shop and meet someone every time. It's pretty special.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of our relationships in general like are made through like small moments together, right? And so kind of going back to like not being close to family and friends anymore in our hometowns, like we've created a little bit of our own support community through those like small moments that we get to spend with people at Startup Virginia and the Lighthouse Network community, and like other founders who are much older than us who are wanting and willing to share their experiences with us. And like in a way, they've created the mentorship aspect through like we've had to learn adulting on our own, right? There was not like a corporate structure in place of like health benefits and salary and fringe benefits and like the inherent community that's like in the workplace that kind of helps you learn how to adult in a way. And so through those relationships that we've built with our startup community has been like a one-to-one replacement for that, but it's a little bit of like self-navigating, like how much effort do I want to put into networking? And like, where do I want to spend my free time? Because it can, at first it was easy to kind of like, oh, let's go out on a Friday or a Saturday night because that's what we did in college. But it's just different when your priorities are elsewhere, and you have to really think about like, how am I going to pay rent as a founder, and how am I going to support myself outside of working on Absurd Snacks all the time. So yeah, I think I don't know what life would look like if we didn't have like a startup community in Richmond. Like I truly can't. But like so much time was spent with those people early on. And we're just grateful that they've been able to give back and continue to give back to like the social and network opportunities that are in Richmond.
I find that sometimes I'll be talking to my mom and she reminds me of things that I don't think twice about that show how we are adulting. I mean, a lot of students come out of college and they go get a master's. For us, like this is our master's. We're living it every day. We're learning as we are doing. But small things from, cooking your own meals and cleaning your own space to, having to get our own insurance and the intricacies of running a business and the administrative aspects of it we may take for granted, but they're things that a lot of people our age are not really thinking about. So I think it's kind of forced us into adulting, and we honestly don't even think twice about it because
Yeah.
it's just what's right in front of us. It's just what we have to do.
Our social lives look wildly different
Oh
now
my gosh,
than our
yeah.
peers, I fear.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, adult relationships, I'd say, like,
yeah.
for the first year and change after school, we were solely focused on the business. I mean, we were working so much, and I think for both of us, we had times where we were like a little burnt out, and we were working too many hours for our own good and not getting enough sleep. And over the last year and a half to 2 years, we've more so prioritized that balance, and I think that's been really healthy too. Which, like, not only for us personally, but also for the business, because it allows us to come back to the table and give our all.
Yeah. It's funny because the business has grown a lot since then. So just the power
100%.
of balance.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to get into balance and dealing with burnout for sure. But do you feel that you missed out on being an early 20-something with the route you've taken?
Oh, I would say definitely not. I mean, I think my mom always told me I would be a great lawyer because I know how to, like, defend and pick a battle, right? And I think that lends itself to speaking a little bit about, like, I definitely like to flap my wings at my own speed. And so being able to, like, have the opportunity to, like, really do what we want and, like, work as hard as we want and explore and be creative and, like, not have to adhere to any social norms or, like, stigmas around what your young 20s should look like has given us, like, so much creative freedom of, like, I don't know, just wanting to choosing who we spend our time with and being deliberate about how we spend our time. And so, like, yeah, while it would be nice to have a comfy salary right out of school, and I'm sure there's all those great benefits that would make the smaller moments that are hard feel a little bit easier. But yeah, I would say like socially, professionally, I think we're light years ahead of our peers when it comes to that aspect of it. And of course there's some days where, like, oh, it'd be nice to be able to roll into work at 9 and leave at 5 and, like, not have to think about it after we get home. But there's also, like, 99% of the time it's quite the opposite. It's like I want to be working on it more often, or we get to go to these awesome trade shows and we get to work 60 hours this week, but, like, 40 of those hours we're meeting new people and investing in relationships that we probably wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So I definitely, don't take it for granted. And we have, like, a whole lifetime ahead of us, right? To, like, go back to the corporate world. So yeah.
We are in our 20s. We're living it to the fullest. I mean, I think the other founders in the network have also shown us that it extends beyond your 20s. Like, these founders who have been in the startup community for decades have networks that span all over the world. I mean, they know such interesting, cool people and have such great stories to tell. I think we both aspire to, be able to meet cool people and experience cool things. And it's pretty often that we find ourselves looking at each other like, where are we right now? What are we doing? But it is really those moments that are super rewarding.
Yeah. Being able to live many lives.
Yeah.
I think our founder friends have lived, like, 12 different careers and they're only, like, 40.
Yeah. That's great. And it seems like a little bit like the network here within Richmond, especially the startup community, has kind of, I don't want to say replaced, but that is the social life, is what you touched on as well. So I'm curious to know, if that didn't exist, what would that look like here?
I mean, Richmond is such a, for the quality of life that we get here from, like, a cost of living perspective and also accessibility to different things. Like, on a Monday night, there's probably 10 to 15 different social things you could do. Like, this restaurant's having a pop-up, or this nonprofit is doing some sort of event. Like, there's so much and that Richmond has to offer from a social perspective. I would guess we're also invested in, like, the athletic community. We run, we bike, we have friends that we play pickleball with. Like, I'm sure we would have found an outlet through one of the many different things that are available in Richmond. And just the accessibility that we have to, Charlottesville and Virginia Beach, and just Richmond being a really great melting pot of all those places and all the people that it draws, especially with all the just like corporate partners that are in the area too. So I think the Richmond Startup Network and community definitely helped us find our immediate community, and that'll never go away. But because Richmond is just such a great place to be, because of all the opportunities and the great food scene we have and music, like it really does peak. It kind of fits the bill for like our personal interests too. So I think we would have in some way or another like found our people, but we get to experience those things like with our Richmond network and like with our founder friends. So I think they go hand in hand for sure.
Yeah. Well, Richmond does have a awesome startup scene. It's not that big for food or consumer packaged goods either, especially compared to some other big cities like New York and Los Angeles. There's an annual trade show that happens in Anaheim called Expo West, and we went there a few years ago, and we think that we're seeing all these awesome, cool emerging products on the East Coast, and then we go to the West Coast, and this show is tens of thousands of brands that are coming out with these new products, and every trend under the sun, every type of product, every flavor, texture, you name it. So it's interesting, like we also could be somewhere like that where there's a lot more happening that's closer to what we do. But everything has its benefits. It doesn't, we're also lucky to be kind of hopefully paving the way for more brands and more food companies and consumer packaged goods that will build in Richmond. And so it's almost like we are hopefully trailblazing for what is now like a growing, and you as well. I mean, a growing food scene in Richmond.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting you said that. Have you ever thought about what you could do to kind of put that platform out there in terms of helping grow the scene from a food perspective?
In
CPG,
Richmond?
yeah.
Well, the program at U of R is definitely helping a lot. I mean, I think it's showing students and the community that there is an interest, and there's also a market for it. We have some amazing companies that have been born out of Richmond. Health Warrior is a prime example, which has been a crucial story in benchtop innovations, this program really blossoming at U of R. And things like Hatch Kitchen are giving a incubator and a platform for other small food companies to start. I mean, it's kind of hard. I feel like restaurants have always been more of a hotspot for Richmond. And I think as the local community continues to support those companies and expanding their operations, and I mean, we've even seen restaurants that have started packaging fan favorite items and then moving those into food service or consumer packaged good items. It kind of gives that pipeline, but hopefully some more of the communities like Startup CPG that are highlighting food brands will continue to shed some love on Richmond as well, because that also just gives us a bit of more of a spotlight. And then the brands like Nightingale and hopefully Absurd Snacks and Sijang Chili Crisp will, pave the way for future brands to give Richmond some more love.
And I know I didn't want to make this a CPG podcast, but now like my gears are turning. What do you think Richmond is missing to really cultivate the CPG scene here? Because I feel like there's a lot of support, because everybody's rooting for you. You go to any grocery store, they're just like, yes, give it to me. You're local. But is there anything missing, especially when you're going over to the West Coast, outside of just brands, trends, being on trends and like the hottest chefs over there and, high level? What do you think is missing here to kind of have that scene cultivate to be similar to a West Coast scene?
More food manufacturing would be huge. I mean,
warehousing.
There's literally no warehousing. Also capital that's being poured into the food industry.
Yeah. Virginia is a great place to build a business because of the ecosystem and the network and the support with the city of Richmond, and then Virginia Economic Development Partnership. Like, they're all fantastic people. The priorities doesn't seem to highlight CPG or support CPG specifically. Virginia is, advanced manufacturing, health tech, med tech, education, fantastic industries, but a lot of the funding and resources are outlaid to those groups and industries. And so unfortunately, like we've had, like when we were raising money, we weren't able to access state capital. You know, as a small business, not having access to, you know, being able to acquire a loan, a pre-revenue brand, like no way. So we had to go the typical angel route and friends and family, and great experience. We would have never, you know, thought twice about doing it again, but it's hard for farmers market brands to take that next step and not have access to the capital to do it. And for a lot of CPG folks, like they're not able to do this full time. I mean, as you know, food manufacturing, warehousing, everything in the industry is so expensive and capital intensive. So it's just hard for brands to make that jump from like, this is a kitchen product I want to bring to life, or it's a farmer's market brand that I want to take to the next step without having the foundational infrastructure in place to support the industry.
Yeah.
I think manufacturing, to your point, would support brands a lot in that respect, because we lived it and breathed it, having to move out of state very temporarily, not us personally, but moving our operations out of state in order to bridge the gap between farmers market brand and like more regional scaling brand phase. And it put like a big strain on the business and us. And we were traveling for every 4 to 6 weeks for a week at a time. And if that resource was available in Richmond without having to build our own facility from scratch, I mean, heck, that would have been, we might be in a different seat right now.
Yeah.
So just, yeah, that's a great start.
Yeah.
Manufacturing and warehousing.
I mean, you go a little further north towards Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C. And to Grace's point, they're focusing on different industries. It's a lot of the med tech. And then even naturally, because it's D.C., there's a lot of political charge. And so the focus is just not really on food and beverage yet. You go further south and into North Carolina, the Research Triangle, there's definitely a lot more capital and resources and programming that are focused around food science and food research. And, you know, we'd love to see that more so in Virginia.
Especially as it relates to universities too. Just thinking your point on the Research Triangle, having food service programs and food science programs, that's what Richmond is trying. Of course, they're not trying to build a whole ecosystem around food and beverage, but they're definitely trying to spearhead highlighting that there are CPG folks in Richmond. I mean, we just went to the annual Bake Off the other day, and the entire panelists of judges were either U of R connections or U of R alum in the food space. We didn't know those people 3-4 years ago. Like it's the fact that U of R is highlighting these resources and highlighting their desire to build something CPG related is just like the start of really creating a space for food entrepreneurs, founders, students who want to get into the food industry, like understand what's available. So anyways, we're like lucky to feel part of that journey and share that resource, because if we don't talk about it, then no one will know, right?
Yeah. First of all, I'm definitely jealous of that class, because I was like, I wish I had that class, because that class seems amazing, just what's coming out of there. And it just seems interesting because it's almost like you said, where you come out of the class and then you're opening your laptop, you're like, okay, now what? You know, so it'd be nice if there was some sort of, you know, facility that's like, all right, you're ready for the next phase from, you know, doing the farmers markets to now we can help you with co-packing, we can help you with like consulting on manufacturing, you know, getting your product, scaling it. And I think that might be the missing part. But again, it comes to capital, like who's going to be paying for that? You know, either it's going to be high upfront costs where it's like, sure, you can come here, we'll do $20,000 entry fee, you know, because I've been through that road where I talk to some co-packers and they're like, don't talk to us unless you have like, you're doing 100,000 units, or they'll just like leave, like not even answer my emails. It's like co-packers. I don't even want to get into that because that's just like a whole thing. Like, are you in business? Do you want business? Are you still alive, or you just don't like me? But anyways, like I could probably talk about CBG forever, and I didn't want this podcast to be, like this to be about it. But it's definitely interesting, and you definitely got my wheels turning of like how we could help the up and coming, because it's almost like you do the rounds, you do the food, you do the farmers markets, and then maybe you join Virginia Specialty Food Association, and then it's like, okay, what now? What do I do? You know, it's like, keep making it. Oh, well, I think there's a commercial kitchen you can rent here. And yeah, but anyway, so getting back on track, sorry. That stuff gets me really, really excited to talk about. So, what's been the hardest stretch so far?
Like period of time or specific obstacle that we've
Anything throughout like your last 5 years? Like, what's the we might not make it phase?
Which one? Manufacturing, probably.
Yeah, I feel like the beginning of Jersey was like really tough.
Yeah.
When we came out on graduation, we were manufacturing locally, and we were actually we were up at a trade show in New York, and we found out through the grapevine that our manufacturer was shutting down. Not something that they had told us. So that kind of started us on this journey to find a manufacturer. Our products are pretty specialized, and we wanted someone that had the right equipment, but most importantly could help us have the safety protocols in place to certify our products as top 9 allergen free. When we make that claim, we don't say it lightly, and we needed it to be validated so we can guarantee safety and security for customers, especially the ones with the most severe food allergies. So we kind of looked far and wide, and we started this search. We spoke to everyone in our network, just kept having conversations, and we actually ended up manufacturing locally in Richmond with another top 9 allergen free brand who had extra line time and just so happened to have this oven in their facility that was not in use. So we were able to help them by filling out some of their idle line time, and they were able to help us by helping produce our product. And we were on the line with them. You know, we helped as much as we could. And that lasted a good, 8-10 months maybe. And coming up on the end of the year, their lease on that space was going to be ending, and they wanted to move into a new space. So we looked together. We looked into real estate. We were thinking, maybe there's a way that we could build out a facility together. It'll be this top 9 allergen-free dedicated space. And as we looked around, we kind of faced the realities that their business and our business had different needs, different equipment needs, different capital needs, different space needs. The trajectories of our businesses were also in very different places. So at the end of the day, we were not able to continue that partnership, which was bittersweet for us. So we had hundreds of conversations with contract manufacturers. We put together this list of maybe 300 manufacturers across the country. A lot of them just straight up, to your point, just said no. And, we weren't even able to engage, and they were immediately crossed off. Some of them kind of led us on. We had a number of conversations, but the fact of the matter is large scale manufacturing is not set up for in between when you're a farmer's market brand and when you're really starting to gain traction. It's only set up for these large scale national brands. And as a brand that was just really starting to get our footing, just starting to get shelf placements in stores, we didn't have the demand to justify making this huge jump. And people don't realize how expensive it can be to make that jump, to commit to manufacturing every 4 weeks on a regular schedule, and making sure that you have all of your inventory in hand and that you're ready for the next one and that you're selling it all through. So it's kind of this
certifications.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. To get in with a larger scale manufacturer, you have to do trials, which can be several thousand, if not tens of thousands of dollars, just to make sure that the product is working well in their equipment. You may have to hire food scientists along the way to change your recipes to make it work with their equipment. The list goes on and on. So at the end of the day, we were in a time crunch because it got to the point where we no longer had our facility and we were only selling off of inventory. And we have retailers and customers that are continuing to ask and order more product. So we needed something. And we ended up meeting this founder. Actually, my mom met this founder. We had everyone on board helping us. Yeah. And
Mom pulled through.
One day, mom texts and she's like, "Hey, I threw out a message to the Slack group. Like, there's this guy. He has a facility. They're only producing once a month. Kind of a similar setup to what you guys had in Richmond, but I think you'd need to like buy some of your own equipment. I don't really know. Just like talk to him. Maybe you could figure something out." So we hop on the phone with this guy. He's awesome. And just as mom described, they have this extra line time. long story short, we ended up buying ovens, trucking up to New Jersey to be in this facility.
In a U-Haul.
In a U-Haul. Hired anyone and everyone we could. Grandma was coming down.
My parents.
Parents were coming down. And
kids off Facebook. High schoolers. No.
High schoolers. We had to build out our own food safety plan, get it inspected, everything that to your question earlier about adulting, like these are things that we definitely did not anticipate having to do. And then it got so last minute that we had dates booked out for our first production run, and we had orders that were expected literally the day after this production run. So if we didn't hire enough people, if an ingredient didn't come in on time, like we would be missing orders and potentially risking new customers. So we were super stressed about this, and we trucked it up to New Jersey. Like Grace is in one town picking up spices. I'm in another town picking up chickpeas. We had to drive to a big bus terminal in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and yell at people to dispatch our chickpeas. Like, everything
went wrong.
Emotions were so high, and everything went wrong. The oven couldn't be installed because they had the wrong gas hose. We were looking at the pallet of chickpeas, and they wouldn't give it to us because they didn't have the right documentation to dispatch it. It was like thing after thing after thing, and we ended up figuring out a way to push our production run a couple days. We got everything in. It was like 2 or 3 days late, but we were able to sweet talk our new customers and work 4 days, 14-hour shifts. The last day we ended up working overnight and then loading the truck and driving back down to Virginia after working 36 hours straight, and successfully dropped off that order. It was like the hardest week.
It was really bad.
It was really bad.
Well, the product tasted great though. Like, at the end of the day, like everything no one would have known. Until this podcast. But you failed to mention the one part about just like 3 months prior to this, we had a co-packer lined up in Idaho. We had visited them twice, trucked ourselves out, bought flights, accommodation, all that stuff. Went out there twice to meet them, build a relationship. We had a date on the schedule for our trial run. The final hour, literally about to sign the paperwork, they pulled out of the agreement because they got cold feet about working with the startup, because they had been, to Eli's earlier point, just like full-blown scaled manufacturing, big brands, running thousands of units per hour of different brands. Like we were so small for them. And they pulled out, and I remember like sitting at our apartment couch, being like, this might be the day that like we like what is our option? And it wasn't until Eli's mom came through with that contact that it was like saving grace, honestly. But that was like really hard because everything felt so right about the relationship in Idaho. Like it was just almost too good to be true, and maybe that's a good lesson learned is to always have blinders up and some guard up until it's really happening, which is why we always tell ourselves now, like we never overpromise. We never want to underdeliver. So just making sure we have our ducks in a row and a high degree of confidence before moving forward with things. So
that was really hard. It was a blessing in disguise. We would have been paying essentially $100,000 per production run, having to run every couple weeks. It would have been
really tough.
It was a lot.
Wow. So how do you feel? Well, first of all, I always like to say that running a business is like just getting hit in the face repeatedly and not knowing where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And then for some reason waking up the next day and be like, all right, let's do it again.
For sure.
So how do you feel like coming out of that now, like looking back at that moment?
Definitely so much more prepared for any, we came across like major obstacles afterwards, like both personally and with the business, and like honestly getting beaten down once really teaches you how to like prepare for it the next time. And so I think your earlier statement of like getting hit in the face every day all day but then learning how to smile a second later, like having the discipline to like wake up the next day and like treat it as a clean slate and just keep going. has been a really like major shift change, I think, in our just being a founder and working through things together. Because if you get hung up on stuff that's, and goes for anyone, like getting hung up on yesterday does not help today.
I love that.
But having a really hard experience, like both like us having to work through it together, when at the time like we didn't have near as many advisors and mentors, and it was really just us and some friends and family supporting, like we almost needed that experience to appreciate where we are right now, because now on the flip side, we're with like the right manufacturing partner, supply chain's in a great spot, we have great advisors and investors, like this feels rewarding now that we've overcome some of the hardest parts of the business.
And hopefully maybe even we can partner with that,
Yeah.
that manufacturer someday.
Yeah.
Down the line.
Oh my gosh. But
yeah, I mean, at this point, I probably feel like, you know, when things come in afterwards, going through like stressful situations like that, it's like, like your capacity of being able to handle bullshit and things going wrong is kind of like, okay, well, what do we need to focus on? How do we get through this? As opposed to be like, you know.
Yeah. It was at that moment, we were so distraught. It was probably the hardest moment to find the motivation to keep going, but it was when we needed the motivation the most. And we just kept pushing.
Yeah.
So where does that come from? Like, where do you draw the motivation? Is it like leaning on each other, or is it something personal within, or where does that motivation to keep going come from?
I mean, we like made a commitment that we would build the business and like see it through, like get it to a point where we were going to be really, really happy with it. And we were, you know, I don't even know.
Yeah.
A year and a half into and we definitely didn't feel like we were at a point where like, yeah, I think it was just doing right by the business and knowing that also we are filling a critical need in the market. We're not just like another granola, like we're not another cookie brand. Like we hear our customers every single day tell us how grateful they are to have a snack that's safe for them to enjoy. That's not their average pretzel or chip or something. And so that's a friendly reminder, like every day when we hear people like tell us how grateful they are for the brand, it's like, what more motivation do you need to continue going? At the time, we also had like retail commitments lined up. Like there was no choice but to continue pushing because we made commitments to people, and we had an obligation to get over ourselves and push through. So I think it's a mix of both, like having the consumer validation and support, but then also like we made commitments to people that we were going to have inventory by this date.
Yeah.
And need to happen.
Yeah. I think it's in both of our nature too, as people. We just won't go down without a fight, and we do really care. We also have investors that we like not only really appreciate, but have responsibility towards. And none of these things are things that we would take lightly. So
yeah, it sounds like you all definitely burn the boats. It's like all in, 100%. Like it's almost like there's no way you can't succeed because you just have to.
Yeah.
You got a delivery to make, so of course we have to keep going. So, which is super rare in a lot of people, and I feel like is a great signifier of why you guys are so successful and everything. Is that, you know, of course we have to. We just have to. So I want to also ask y'all about like, how do you balance each other out and like the working relationship together?
We fight every day. No, I'm kidding. I mean,
all good relationships.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely have like our core responsibilities that we focus like 90% of our time on. But I mean, we work together every day, and we share a lot of responsibilities across different aspects of the business because, one, it's super nice to be able to tag team projects and like have two people have very different perspectives working on the same thing. We don't get that same element of like teamwork, like when, you know, maybe a little bit of envy here of our peers who like are working on larger teams and have different responsibilities that contribute to like a very large project. Like when we're working together, everything feels big, but there's only two of us working on it with limited time throughout the day. And so like we have to work together on a lot of things. And as far as like balancing each other out, I think, I don't know, like I like us qualitatively, like we've different schedules a little bit, right? Like early riser, night owl, like.
Well, I would say like Grace is more extroverted than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we are at a trade show or networking or, presenting on behalf of Absurd Snacks, she is more of the charismatic, outgoing leader who I think pushes me to try and find that within me, because I do think like I'm outgoing, but I also have an introverted side to me that wants to lean more towards like being behind the scenes. So I feel like in a way that like we balance each other out that way, because I can sometimes be like head down, dialed in, and I don't know. But we also I think we push each other to also like look at the bigger picture of things sometimes, because it is so easy for anyone who's building a business to be so deep in what you're doing that, you never want to lose sight of what the bigger picture is, especially when it's like a project or something that you've been working on for months, if not years, to bring it to life. It's like you're slowly chipping away and you have to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing.
And also just being like we're like super honest and transparent with each other. And so but it was not always like that. Like we only became friends our senior year of college, and we had known each other for like not 9 months before deciding to build a business together. So I can't remember when the hurdle was we got over it, but it was like we just need to be really, the relationship needs to be very fluid and transparent and honest, because I can't wake up on the wrong side of the bed and not tell him, because he'll figure it out very quickly. And so that's been a really good thing, I think, for the working relationship too, is just having like no boundaries, essentially.
So if someone shadowed you both for a week, what would surprise people?
You should probably ask our interns that. I wonder what they think.
I actually think it would be how little we argue. Like we really don't.
Yeah.
Even if we completely disagree on something, we almost immediately find a middle ground. Like we just talk through something and move on. And I think like the ability to just make a decision and keep going is honestly like really valuable. Yeah.
I'd agree with that. I don't know if I would add anything. I mean, that's a hard question.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes people are like, are you finding time for sleep? Or like, do you have any hobbies? Or like, is all you do beans?
Yeah. We do have hobbies.
We do have hobbies. We are people. I think like in the first year and a half, we were like so heads down that maybe we didn't give ourselves the space for it. But like, I don't know. We're going to be running Grace will be running a marathon, and I'm going to run a half marathon in March, and
nice.
She's going to be my half marathon coach. She got me.
That's awesome. Nice.
So I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that would be surprising to them, is like the space that we give ourselves for balance. And I don't know.
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned, Grace, that kind of was interesting on the phone call when we were chatting earlier, when you said being disciplined in your hobbies. I would love to learn more. What does that look like?
We have a running joke that if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen.
So true. That's so
and
true.
so if you were to pull up our calendars, there's literally spots for like, go to the gym, go run, go to this pottery class you've been talking about for a year. Like on every Friday we have on our calendar, not that we do this every Friday, but if we have a somewhat chill Friday, we go to Blanchard's and we do their like coffee cupping class or event. And it's literally a recurring invite on our calendar, which is like, even if we don't do it, it's a friendly reminder to be like, we should just give ourselves space to pursue other hobbies and passions. Obviously that doesn't happen during like normal working hours, but I was a college athlete at U of R. I was a long jumper, and we had practice every morning from like 7 to 10:30. I don't know if I hadn't had that schedule with U of R. I don't know if I would continued that with, you know, being post grad and now working for 90% of the time. But it definitely was a friendly reminder of like doing things that you love, like first thing in the morning. At least for me, it works best this way because then I come into the day with a clear head. I did something for myself first thing. Usually it's in solitude, running, biking, even like making time to drink coffee by myself, something like that. So having discipline in pursuing other things that make your workday tick, like, and get you excited for, has been really helpful for me. And at the first year and a half after school, when we were just like heads down grinding, like it was almost a guilt thing. Like, how dare I, you know, start work at 9 and not 8 o'clock because I wanted to go run or go bike or something, whatever it was. But yeah, giving permission to yourself to like pursue other things in the business actually has made me more productive and more excited to jump into the day.
So you actually have like a coffee by myself scheduled on your calendar?
That usually is in lieu of if I don't work out,
Okay.
which is probably like one day a week.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what kind of music do you listen to when you're getting ready for like a big launch or a big preparation or any routine?
That's so hard.
That's hard.
I'm a listen to music while I work type of guy. So I like pretty much always have music playing. So I don't know if there's like a specific type of music. Even like when I'm working out, I don't think that there's a specific type of music. In fact, more recently, I've been listening to podcasts instead of music while working out, or like in that time when others may be looking for a pump up. But I feel like a while ago, we had aspirations of creating a playlist that was called This Is Beans, and it was going to be an Absurd Snacks themed playlist. And I think that kind of embodies what our like pump up vibe is, which is like upbeat, I don't know, like Crazy by Gnarls Barkley, and just songs that like make you feel good and bob your head, like there you go, something
the Bee Gees,
you can't help but like a little Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak, you can't help but like bob your head too.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's curious. I listen to West End Girls for some reason. Pet Shop Boys, like for some reason, it's always 5 minutes, exactly 5 minutes before the presentation or anything speaking I'm doing, I have to listen to it. And that's my little routine that I get into. And I have to stand up and I have to like jump around and get into it. But for some reason that song like gets me locked in. I don't know why. You wouldn't think that song isn't really like a pump up type of song, but I was just curious if y'all had anything special like that. So yeah, I know we're coming up on time here and I want to be respectful of that. But one thing I want to end on is if you could go back to day one and talk to your younger selves before starting Absurd Snacks, what would you say?
The first thing that came to mind was always say yes, which fortunately I feel like I've been pretty good at living by.
Yeah.
But I think especially when I was younger, I had a tendency to say no before I said yes, and then I would come around to things. Yeah. And I continue to aspire for my initial reaction to things to be yes.
That's a good one. I would say I wish through college. So we were sophomores in college when COVID happened. So our like networking, professional working experience was like really skewed. You know, internships and stuff are really wonky. But I wish I would have been more grateful for people's time that they gave us in college, whether it was class speaking, internships, coffee meetings that people said yes to, people that I worked for. Like, I can't remember going out of my way to like show gratitude for people in that way. Because now being busy, like young professionals and working all the time, like we love knowledge sharing and passing down information to people who want to start a business, or like through our part-time work at U of R, we love meeting with students. But we know how much time and effort it takes for us to like set up those meetings and show up and be present and like give them 100% of our time and brain space for that hour. And it's so nice when students send an email and they're like, just want to thank you so much because it's like, yeah, like I love doing that. I love spending time with people in that respect. I just can't remember ever showing gratitude for people when I was on the other side of that chair. And I wish that like I would have started writing handwritten notes earlier and made an effort to say thank you, because we are so grateful for people who show that gratitude towards us, but then also like our mentors, advisors, investors, like we know when they're giving us time, like that is valuable time that they're giving us out of their working hours and also away from their families and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe just being a little bit more in tune with gratitude pre absurd snacks.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Eli and Grace, for coming today and spending a little bit of time. And it was awesome to get to know a little bit behind the people behind Absurd Snacks. So thank you so much. I want to say again, appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.